There's this thing in movies or TV shows as well called product placement, where you have some product in there that is done in order for the filmmakers to make a bit more money because they put something in there that a company made. This is honestly in almost every movie ever made, and in a lot of cases, it doesn't stand out. When you do product placement right, the audience doesn't notice or care. I mean, like in Iron Man, for example, when Tony gets food from Burger King, you think about it's like, yeah, this was obviously done because the filmmakers wanted to get some money from Burger King, but does it feel forced in the moment? No, it makes sense, so you don't notice. Or in Jurassic World, there's honestly a pretty good amount of product placement, as the pitch meeting from Ryan George does a good job of pointing out. But for me personally, it wasn't really distracting. I didn't really notice the product placement. But there's a few cases where I'm like, oh, this is so blatant and forced that I notice. Like, oh, Transformers: Age of Extinction has some painfully shoehorned in product placement, like how this element transformium is introduced during a scene where these company people are talking. This one guy, Stanley Tucci's character, changes transformium into this product, into like speaker. He says, "Do you like music?" Changes into a speaker. It's like, oh, this is so obviously just there for product placement. But especially the moment that's really egregious, I would say, is when this Transformer ship crashes into a Budweiser truck, and for it feels like a solid minute there, just a close up on Budweiser, and then you literally have Mark Wahlberg drinking a Budweiser. Man, Madam Web that came out recently is painfully shoehorned in product placement as well, where the main villain is defeated by a Pepsi sign. how much how much worse can you get than that? Like, a character drinks Pepsi, and then in the end, oh, it's Pepsi that defeats the main villain. Seriously? Also, wow, Man of Steel, during the first time that Superman fights the Kryptonians, has just a painfully jarring product placement where you have IHOPs, So's, 7-Eleven, like all these different things that are spotlighted and so blatantly obvious that it feels forced. Or in Amazing Spider-Man 2, where you have Electro going to Times Square, in the movie itself, why does Electro need to go to Times Square? Is there a good reason? No, there actually isn't. Because at the end of the movie, Electro goes to this electric grid. So why does he go to Times Square? Oh yeah, it's just in there for product placement. Because that way you can show all these different products on the billboards in New York Times Square, or people's phones. It doesn't feel natural at all. So I think it's interesting because product placement is in so many movies, and in most cases the audience doesn't notice or care, and that's how it's supposed to be. There's nothing wrong with product placement if you do it right. If you do it in a way that just makes sense, where you don't notice it. But the way you can tell when you're doing product placement wrong is when the audience is talking about it, when they notice it, and it doesn't just blend right into the movie.